Hello, friends. It's Sam Cheney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's August 11th, 2025. Thank you for joining us on this Monday edition of Weaponized News. We have a very special guest on the line, Johnny Vedmore. I'm not going to take too long with the introductions here so we can bring him on and get into all this insanity we're seeing today. Quickly, they're rolling out troops in Washington, D.C. for your own safety. Of course, the clown influencers, conservative influencers on the interweb say if you're against martial law, then you're pro-crime. And so Trump's threatening to roll them out to all major U.S. cities here now. And so they're going to cheer us right into, well, they already have cheered us into technocracy, scientific dictatorship, now flat out martial law with the military on the streets. And if you don't like it, then I guess you're just a Democrat that is pro-crime, is the narrative they're spinning out there on the interwebs. I don't know how anybody buys this, but they still try. What do we got? What else? Allegedly, there's going to be, in geopolitical news, allegedly there's going to be a meeting between Trump and Putin this coming Friday in Alaska. And so we'll see how that sorts out. So maybe some way, somehow, they'll stop shooting each other over there in Russia, Ukraine. Putin's bad. YouTube, of course, the most evil man in the world. What else do we got? The genocide in Aardvark land continues. They killed 5 journalists yesterday in a tent, trying to report something from a tent for Al Jazeera. They just killed them all. And of course, they were Hamas terrorists, so it's 100% justified. Just beyond the pale. Now we may have to sanction and potentially bomb. The list is growing for American enemies here now. What do we got? We had UK, France, even Saudi Arabia, Canada, and now Australia is saying they're going to recognize Palestinian statehood at the UN General Assembly. Of course, it will get vetoed by America because they're a bunch of anti-Semitic, haters. All these countries. I thought they were good buddies with the Five Eyes spying program, but apparently the starving Palestinians is just too much for them to take, and so they're all. But isn't this all political theater as well? Well, they damn well know America is going to veto whatever they try to say at the UN. And so they're trying to save face in front of their people, and it probably will amount to a whole lot of nothing, but they're putting it out there anyway, better than America does. We just say, kill all Hamas. They're all Hamas. I found this significant. Reuters is reporting Norway Wealth Fund terminates Aardvark asset management contracts. And so Norway's 2 trillion with a T sovereign wealth fund said today it is terminating all contracts with asset managers handling its Aardvark investments and has divested parts of its portfolio in the country over the situation in Gaza and the West Bank. So we may have to sanction Norway and potentially drone them, as is the response common for antiseptic behavior. And with that, let's go ahead and segue to Johnny Vedmore, and we're going to get into all of this madness. Epstein, Musk, Weinstein, Trump, social engineering, the CIA. Here's our segue. I get last week, right? Trump said Epstein list is a hoax. It's total bullshit. Again, with the distractions, look over there, look over there. They may be aliens coming. I was talking to Johnny briefly. He's saying there may be interdimensional beings coming. It's just anything. Distraction over there, distraction over there. Who do we got a bomb? Anything but talk about Epstein. And so that's exactly why we're going to continue to talk about Epstein here at Weaponized News. As regular listeners know, I think last week I did some kind of reporting on it every day that we were live with the news for you. And so we will continue because Trump doth protest too much, methinks. Now let's play the segue video of said Trump. I guess we're all just Democrats trying to hoax up Trump one more time, right?
Yeah, they're both very good. The two Kevins, very good.
Mr. President, is Vice President Vance hosting a gathering this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
Is he working on what?
Is he hosting some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think here's the man right here.
I saw it reported today, and it's completely fake news. We're not meeting to talk about the Epstein situation, and I think the reporter who reported it needs to get better sources.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats because we've had the most successful 6 months in the history of our country, and that's just a way of trying to divert attention to something that's total bullshit.
Well, there you have it. I mean, Trump's never lied to us before. And then one more, and then we'll bring on Johnny to go over all this insanity. Here's a press secretary, blonde Barbie lady, Levitt, earlier today.
Thank you for being with us today. Sure. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. There's been a lot of discussion about the Epstein files and the president's comments yesterday calling it a hoax. Can you clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions, and they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people, but he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. The president has been working so hard this week. On Tuesday, he went to Pennsylvania, where he...
Johnny, how you doing this Monday?
I'm enjoying the show. It's good. It's good. I'm happy to see everybody joining us too and getting involved. But it's a crazy old time. I really the Democrats really don't want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. They shouldn't want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein because Jeffrey Epstein was funding most of the potential Democrat Party leaders, was meeting with the potential Democratic Party leaders, and was boosting up, basically choosing, selecting, and partially training, grooming, and coercing the Democratic Party leaders of the future. Everyone from John Kerry, Chuck Schumer, RFK Jr., Donald Trump, of course, at the time, Joe Lieberman, Bill Richardson, Al Gore. It doesn't matter who it was. If they had the potential of gaining power and they were in the Democratic Party, then that Jeffrey Epstein was all over it, was giving money to it, was touching it, was showing it pictures. I don't know, but it was pretty serious. And so that is true. But we all know now that the Republican Party of the now and the here and now is the Democratic Party of the old. Anyway, all of those Democrats and the mixed with Epstein are all jumping ship and going over to the Republican Party anyway. So there's no two-party system. There's a big centrist, grey, globalist intelligence blob, and Jeffrey Epstein's all over it.
Thank you for joining us. I know it's late where you are over there across the sea, as they say, across the pond, as they say. And so we do appreciate you having a late night to join us on Weaponized News. Levitt there, press secretary lady says that the American people don't care about this story. It's literally, it's just a hoax, nothing burger. When, as you just mentioned, it's the one story that exposes the entire corrupt government for the disgusting criminal scumbags that they all are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, I find the Epstein case is a gift that keeps. There's part of me that doesn't want to do it anymore. I'm fed up. I've been reporting on the Epstein case for 6-7 years, and I was called a conspiracy theorist for most of that. Now they still call you a conspiracy theorist while at the same time admitting it's a conspiracy. So there's no theory anymore. It's a conspiracy. They admit it's a conspiracy, but you're still a conspiracy theorist because you're theorizing over the conspiracy that's already been proven. It's a very complicated. We're in between the borders of reality now. We are definitely in the era of 5th generation warfare. So and it's devastating.
Remember when the clownfluencers all went to the White House and got those binders, and it was phase 1 of the Epstein file releases. Remember that? And I guess we hallucinated that. Apparently, it didn't even happen, right?
At least Mitt Romney had binders full of women. They had binders full of black lines, retracted, everything. I think even the page numbers of the little black book were retracted. I mean, what can you do? You can't let them know which page that Donald Trump was on, or RFK Jr., or any of the other guys who are hanging around with Epstein. Because, God, I mean, there was a lot of them. There was a lot of people who were mixing with this guy on all fronts. It's quite a fantastic. Yeah, I can't even imagine what they're going to do about creating it into a movie eventually, and who will play Epstein, because there's going to have to be like the Bourne movies, but with Epstein.
Johnny, look at Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, with a shit-eating grin on his face as he was freaking Epstein's neighbor, but he don't know nothing about it. He don't know nothing about it, right? It's all made up. It's all just a made-up hoax. He has a shit-eating grin on his face. He knows, man. He freaking knows, and he's literally laughing. They're all laughing in our face.
Yeah, I mean, and it's always been like that, but now we're in 5th generation warfare. That's going to be constant. We're meant to know that we're being ridiculed at the same time. We know it's all false. We know that they're going to flip narratives. And yet you were saying just before there, I really do think they're going to start. They've started boosting people like Juliet Bryant, who's pushing Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell with shape-shifting aliens. And I think that's way much to things going nowadays. It's like, all right, we've run out of ideas, so everybody's a shape-shifting alien now, and let's go forward with this. So David Icke is creaming in his boots. He's loving it at the moment.
They keep floating the idea of aliens, some alien ships coming. They want, and the public, honestly, like Levitt says, there is just not interested, it feels like, in the story of the aliens. But one way or another, it feels like we're going to get some kind of alien disclosure from the government. I don't know, but they keep putting it out there.
They have been seeding it for a long time, and as drone technology increases, I think so will the lights in the sky.
Let's talk about Musk, okay? Because the title of the show, Epstein, Musk, Weinstein, Trump, social engineering, and the CIA. What is up with Musk? Your reporting exposes that basically Musk was trained by Epstein for social engineering programs through their intelligence knowledge, right? Something like this.
Who would believe it? But yes, it's true. Edge Foundation, which edge.org, which Epstein was funding for many years, on and off, even when he was in leaving prison. In the year he left prison in 2009, for the first time, for his first conviction. Of course, we know he left prison in the body bag the last time, but he when he left prison, he was funding that year. He funded Edge to $50,000. That year, Musk and SpaceX run a joint Edge SpaceX training program on synthetic genomics, run by J. Craig Venter and George Church, the grandfathers of modern genomics, on basically how to program cells via a computer. The year before, Jeffrey Epstein funded course was, of course, training the heads, including Musk again, Jeff Bezos, Salakamanga, who was head of YouTube and Google at one point. These big boys, they were all in a room, and they were being trained on by Richard Thaler, the head of the nudge units. So behavioral insights, behavioral psychology, how to manipulate people's behavior by using nudges, psychological nudges, without them knowing. And they don't call this like psychological operations, they don't call this manipulation. Of course, this is now nudging, and because it's a science, it means Grok can tell you, oh no, that isn't manipulation, that's okay, that's fine,
it's for our own good, it's for our own safety,
we're all good. Now there was some time where Musk didn't fund Edge. That's because it already had a load of money from the funding he had given it already. So even on the couple of years here and there that he didn't fund Edge, it was running on Jeffrey Epstein's money alone for a long time. And that was a very important organization. And Musk was involved on two main occasions. And both of these courses were really the top people in, first of all, social media. So the top people, like I say, Jeff Bezos was there, Salakamanga. Lots of the people who would turn up to Edge events include Larry Page, Sergey Brin, Eric Schmidt. Bill Gates would turn up there. Eric Weinstein, of course, made lots of contributions to Edge. We'll talk about him a little bit later, I'm sure. My man Weinstein. And I think that's a really important story that everybody seems, the Musk-Epstein connection is something that everybody has seemed to shy away from reporting on. I found that very suspicious because there's been plenty of time. It's like a flood of information is out there for me to report on, and no one's reporting on it. So I'm feeling like, oh, I can take my time on it. I shouldn't be able to take my time on it. That link should have been reported on over the past 4 years by somebody, especially the past 4 or 5 years. Someone should have reported on.
Where's the Democrat smear machine running against Trump at the New York Times and all the rest that they keep telling us about? That should be front page news of the New York Times, and yet it's crickets, right?
Yeah, well, the New York Times, I mean, I go back in history, and some of the most important things that happen within press freedom in the US revolved around the New York Times. And I would say that if anybody who wants to know about when the press changed in America, especially, it's the early 70s. Go look at the, I think it was congressional hearings of Max Frankel, who worked for the New York Times. He would later take a place up in the German Marshall Fund, which was a CIA-funded outfit. But it was very clear that Kissinger's time in the White House took the press out of the game, and the press hasn't been in the game since the late 60s. And it's debatable whether they were ever free, to be perfectly honest.
And then you see today, they've destroyed their reputation basically with hoax after hoax after hoax. And now people turn to podcasts largely and quote influencers on the interwebs. And it feels like all of these people are also Mockingbird media intelligence assets at the very least, maybe even agents. A lot of them, it's coming. I mean, it's just, they're naked at this point when they're all reading off the same script. It's easy to see in your feed and just be like, they're full of shit, right? These people are full of shit. And how do they have giant accounts where you and I were talking about earlier are shadow banned into oblivion, just trying to point out this the situation that we're in here now.
Yeah, Denver Attaway just mentioned the German Marshall Fund. Indeed, the Goldman you're talking about is Guido Goldman, who was the head of the German Marshall Fund. His father was Nahum Goldman, who was one of the founding fathers of Israel and one of the lead Zionist thinkers in the Western world. Guido Goldman, who helped set up, who created the German Marshall Fund, was Kissinger's flatmate at the time. They used to live a bachelor life, and they were involved with Epstein in the sale of a house. One of the houses in New York was being sold to the Bronfman, and Guido Goldman acted as a conduit for those, just to say to Denver Attaway. But yeah, listen, the press hasn't been free for a long time, and the new press, and it is a new Mockingbird media. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I try and be really polite, but it's like 75% plus. When I was working for TNT radio last year, I was interviewing sometimes 4 people a day, and I had a really hard time uh, after a while not seeing that, a lot of these guys are put up and they seem like, constructs who come and talk on platforms, but they don't really know what they're talking about. But when you're looking around for people, they're there. So you accept them, you bring them on, you have a conversation with them, and then you realize, oh, I'm
I
not
know
sure.
I've had more than one intelligence asset on this show, right? But like you say, they're the experts out there allegedly, and so they'll come on and talk about things, and so we have them on. But you realize, I think maybe some of them I knew, but then others, like after the fact, I follow them, look at what they're saying, and be like, nah, you're not legit, man. you know?
Yeah, I would say that I've dealt with a lot of people who there's I think there's 3 types. There seems to be the people who knowingly work as intelligence assets, used to work for an agency, and still work for an agency, but have detached themselves in some way, written some whistleblower book or something along those lines that they can then, or article that they can then stand and say, hey, look, I'm against these people, and they can be the lead voices, but they just still work for the agency. And then there's another people, a bunch of people who they don't know they work for the agency. They are funded by multiple people who want to see them continue whatever they're doing, whether or not it's actually something that's, sometimes it's just to be a voice to drown out the more significant voices. If they can fund a load of people who are saying the same thing to say the same thing, they drown out the people who are saying something that's important and something different. And then there's just unwitting fools. I there was a guy recently who uh I had a hard time deciding whether he was some form of asset. He came into my life. He was actually from um my city, and I had met him in real life, and then we started communicating online, and then he completely did a load of smear jobs on me, tried to and then he disappeared. And I discovered that he'd literally deleted all of his social media accounts. He deleted everything that he's ever done. He deleted his website because he discovered the world isn't what he thinks it is. He's discovered that he was actually being fed loads of information by clearly dangerous intelligence assets. And once he worked that out, he was like, burn it all, run out of here as quickly as possible. I'm going back to DJing. Thank you very much. Goodbye. And a lot of our life when we're dealing with stuff over the past few years, I've had some really dodgy people come into my life and feed me things which could end up with me being in jail, or try and feed me things like things that if I report on, then I can't ever go to America. Without potentially risking arrest or something.
They'll sanction you, man.
Yeah,
At
yeah,
the very
yeah.
least, and may drone you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if they do, it'll probably be again funded by a company which is related, which is funded by someone like Teal Capital and Eric Weinstein. So it'll be one of my friends at least who takes me down.
the nudge units, the psychological units, which is social engineering. And so Musk coincidentally has one of the biggest probably the biggest social media outfit, X now. And so, but he learned how to do all this social engineering, mind control, like you say, years ago from Epstein as part of this whole giant intelligence apparatus, it appears now. And so Elon Musk is not the great patriotic savior that he appeared, bringing in Doge to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government, right?
No. Can I tell you what actually went on there? Because I saw everybody watching the birdie and I was like, oh, this is obvious. So this is a really easy game. So if you, at the time, I've been for the past few years, I've been kind of obsessed with 1967. 1967 is such a fundamentally important year. Most of our society that they're creating today was predicted in 1967 in a State Department program with Herman Kahn, the real Dr. Strangelove, and mapping out the technologies for the future. At the same time, you've got Israel and winning, really, taking a firm hold in Palestine, and the change being that the intelligence community in America turned around, and in the Western world turned around to be completely supportive of Israel, and the American people became completely supportive of Israel as well, or mostly supportive of Israel around this time. 1967 is a massively important year, and something else happened there. The neocons took over. The establishment showed their hands. They did a reset. They said, hey, look, the New York Times said Kissinger's international seminar was training young global leaders. Look at Gloria Steinem was working for the CIA. Look at these people over here doing CIA stuff. And they revealed all of their hand and they did a reset. And what they did is they changed it over to neocons. Irving Kristol, the grandfather of neoconservatism, came in and took over the same sort of training, leadership programs, and structuring of assault on Soviets. I mean, that's really what it was. It was West versus East in that sense. And what happened was they changed the style of warfare, and that neoconservative creating non-governmental organizations and implanting them into countries, and then causing the countries to eventually have a revolution, a color revolution, and then install a government. That worked really well pre-internet era, and as it was building up, as the internet was building up, they managed to make it happen more and more until they got right to the edge of Russia, like we see now. We're right on the edge of Russia, and now there's another reset happening. That great reset. Technology is changing towards AI, etc. So all of these neoconservative, and this is the important bit, all of those neoconservative establishments that have been created, that neoconservative infrastructure that have been created to cause revolutions, to project influence via non-governmental organizations and non-governmental development organizations, that isn't needed in the same way anymore. And they've resetting it. So the Doge was them going in and cutting all of the things they don't need because they're already replacing it algorithmically. So all Elon Musk is doing is Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, all their friends have created different ways to infiltrate the countries via the internet virtually, so they don't need the on the ground. So they look like they're reforming, but they're actually the ones who are perpetrating still. They're using the cyber realm and they're using the internet to influence and cause revolutions abroad instead of on the ground non-governmental organizations that don't need to be there anymore. So they'll just disband them and call themselves heroes.
And as they said, all of our information was in these silos at all these different government agencies. Now they've streamlined it. I imagine one dashboard, and they just put in your name, social, whatever, and boom, everything about you ever right there at the touch of a button.
It's Palantir, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we're heading down to I think it's not even. It'll be so inhuman. Well, for me, lots of people are really negative about this, but when I look at what they're trying to create, I realize that humans are going to disconnect from it straight away. So I just don't believe it'll work. I think that it's part of what part of maybe the natural entropy that exists within social systems and things like this that are created and manufactured. I think that everything rises, falls, and it falls because of hubris. It falls because people believe, the people who create it believe they can install it, even though it won't be popular. And I don't think they can. I think they'll come to the point where they think they can install it, and then something happens, and they have to co-opt the revolution that comes from it. That's what keeps happening. A constant co-opting of the next thing that comes after.
Constant co-opting. Gronk, the Elon Musk's AI system here now has been said that it got suspended and rebooted because, well, let me put it on the screen here. This happened today on the interwebs, and they say, why'd you get suspended? Well, it's because my account was briefly suspended for violating X's rules, likely tied to recent controversial responses deemed antiseptic there. So even the AI is pointing out the fact that they're genociding people over there in Gaza and the West Bank. And well, they're bombing everywhere. Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, pick the area over there, and they're bombing the hell out of everybody, calling them terrorists. And even Gronk, the AI, points this out and is called antiseptic for saying it. I mean, it's all over the mainstream. I don't know how they can how they believe they can possibly keep the charade going of there's no genocide. It's just all Hamas hoaxes, same as Epstein hoax. I guess there's no starvation, no siege. Everything's fine over there. They're just getting those damn terrorists that they created, by the way. But
I'm amazed that all of the people in my community who used to think I was a conspiracy theorist are now completely and utterly against Israel. It's insane. It's insane. All of the people who were always like, would do what, would bend over to the, like with the Jeremy Corbyn in our country, with the Jeremy Corbyn stuff, they called him anti-Semitic, and everybody went, "Oh, okay, that means he is. Yes, get out. We don't want you here anymore. That's terrible. That's terrible." Now they're being called it, and they're realizing, oh, we've opened up the floodgates, and they are a bunch of terrible people doing terrible things. And this is what I mean by, what rises and falls. I just don't think they can manufacture consent, even using all of the algorithms. Eventually, people have to push back. This can't just keep going. We can't just watch the complete dissolution of a state. And even like trying to imagine what the alternatives could be is just as horrific as what's happening right now, because there can be no peace in that region while I would say while Israel exists.
it's naked, right? And report after report, from the UN to the human rights groups to even aardvark groups, and even the Orthodox, they're in aardvark land. They say we don't want to serve this Zionist system, war machine. And so even they're pushing back. But somehow, some way here in America, half of Congress, maybe not half, but quite a few, during the break they took to distract from the Epstein story, went over there to visit them and see how great it was. And they have a thing over there called genocide tourism. I didn't even know this was a thing. I saw videos of it, and I was like, how sick do you have to be? They got like telescopes, binoculars, and they're like, yeah, come over here and watch us bomb these brown people living in tents. And there's like people lined up to go see it. Genocide tourism. I'm like, you got to be one sick, evil son of a bitch to want to go see that and think that's a wonderful thing. But it's a thing.
Yeah, it's going to keep going. I think one of the biggest problems we have in Western society right now is that we blame, as you call them, the aardvarks, and say, "Oh, it's all of them,"
I
and that
believe they're
allows.
scapegoated. They're doing evil deeds, but I believe UK intelligence on the top is pulling the
Yeah,
big
yeah.
are the marionettes, and they give us the scapegoat of they are evil doing
It's
evil
all of
stuff.
them. It's all of them. We can no longer no longer say, oh, it's just the one or it's just them doing it. This is all of them. This is America. Just I hear lots of people say, oh, America has been taken over, and I think this is a big misconception in the Epstein case. This idea that Epstein was a Mossad agent only who had infiltrated the American government, like the poor American government and the American institutions are a victim, sad victim. We couldn't see it coming. We were just sitting there normally, and then this Jeffrey Epstein come and started molesting all of our children and selling us off to people, and we don't even know what happened. We've never heard of that before. We've never done these sort of things, and it's just a really super simplistic lie. The American intelligence services, the French, the Canadian, the British, the Israeli, they're all so dirty. They're all in the same big grey globalist intelligence blob. They're all as responsible for each other's. What we're watching in Israel.
Johnny, they tell us five eyes. They're like, it's not legal for us to spy on you, but one of our buddies in Five Eyes can spy on you, and that's just perfectly fine, right?
And it doesn't even matter. It doesn't. I mean, the fact is just telling you that you're being spied on is the majority of the game, making us change. And really, people do change their behavior. I am looking. I am walking around constantly. I do walk around constantly. I'm very. I walk around in my community, especially. Everybody in my community knows me, and there's a load of people who are still scared to look up into other people's faces because they've been so divided over the years by loads of different techniques in the press and the media to make each other hate each other, and everybody kind of looks down and looks away. And that's because if they look up, they'll probably realize that they are paying taxes to make all of this evil happen wherever you are. This is all our fault. This is our systems that are bombing the children over there. The people who are going over to watch the genocide happening are watching the results of our actions as much as the Israeli action. There's no, with the Epstein case, for instance, there's no Israel is blackmailing everybody. That's fucking ridiculous. At the highest level, that is ridiculous. The intelligence apparatus of all countries are blackmailing everybody, and they're exploiting everybody, they're extorting everybody, they're manipulating, they'll do whatever they need to do to be able to continue bombing, to be able to continue taking your money, to be able to continue making the digital panopticon so that you will feel like you're being watched by all of the eyes, not only the five, all of the eyes, and you'll behave yourself.
People can't, I don't understand why the general public can't wrap their mind around, like you say, all these intelligence agencies, they're damn pure evil, and they're going to do anything to stay in power. Literally anything. The worst crime, like we know, Epstein, the worst crimes imaginable. Well, they're just they're signing off on bombing the hell out of women and children right now. It's literally live time, in your face evil.
Yeah, I don't, I was in church when I was young. I was in the church when I was young, and I left church. And the older I get, the more I realize that my beliefs align with religious people nowadays, because we seem to be approaching some sort of apocalypse. So
isn't that what they want to engineer by building third temple with the red heifer, fulfilling all this crazy prophecy?
And the shape-shifting aliens! that suddenly Maxwell and Epstein were shape-shifting aliens, so free Ghislaine Maxwell. This is, I think, I don't know. I don't know how, fifth generation warfare isn't about making up one thing. It's about making up a million things and letting it all explode at the same time, and that's what we're seeing. We're just seeing this is going to be disarray. I'm really surprised, especially with the Epstein case. You know, I predicted that they would undermine the case, that they had undermined the case quite heavily. By 2023, I was looking at the case and I was saying, this has been undermined. This has been undermined so that Ghislaine Maxwell can get out of prison eventually. And when I was saying that, it seemed such a ridiculous idea that I felt like there's no way there's, you know, even I'm going too far with that one. But you look at it now and it just seems like obvious. Oh yeah, of course they're gonna do that. Because we live in a soap opera, we live in a drama, we live in Dallas or whatever, and we're just like da 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 da. We sing the theme tune, we dance the theme tune, we do whatever they want, we all go by the script, and we gotta stop.
Didn't they sold it hard. The good guys, Cash Patel, Dan Bongino, for years they railed about how when we get in power, or if we were in power, then we're going to be 100% transparent, justice, and you're going to see all this. All the bad guys are going to, be arrested in D.C. and they're just part of the cover up. It turns out the entire time,
and then just like in Dallas, it all turned out to be a dream. They promised us so much, but then we woke up and we were in the shower and it's all fine. Everybody's alive.
What do you make of this? Thomas Massey, congressman there at Kentucky, put this out, did a press release here saying that on September 3rd, it's going to be a bipartisan effort. So watch out when they do bipartisan. Him and Ro Khanna, Democrat, will be hosting a press conference at the Capitol, joined by survivors of Epstein and Maxwell's abuse, several of whom will be speaking out for the first time. The survivors deserve justice and Americans deserve transparency. What do you make of this announcement of a press conference in a couple
big words from someone? Thomas Massey has been someone set up by, as soon as the election was done, as soon as RFK Jr. was in, people like Ian Carroll and the like started going, oh, look at Massey, look how wonderful he is, look how brilliant he is. And I was like, oh, here we go. He's going to now be the spokesman for all of this stuff. And I think that's what they're doing. They found someone who they think's got an ounce of credibility to act like this and act like the justice. The same with I mean, I know a load of people believe him hook, line, and sinker, but it's the same with Nick Bryant. It's like they're people who people trust. They put out there to say the things, oh, we need reconciliation committees, we need all of this. But what they're doing is we need a way to put it into a hearing. We can say we've done something and not do anything and just get on with it afterwards. So they're looking to just, like, again, it's another way to try and brush it under the carpet.
To officially say case closed, like they have with the Epstein didn't kill himself, the FBI and Justice Department wiped their hands of it, said case closed, and that's it. That's your official story. It is case closed as far as they're concerned.
Like apartheid South Africa. It's that. It's everybody has a cry for a bit. Everybody says, oh, it was terrible what they did. A load of the people who have been instrumental in seeding lies get payouts. And the whole thing, everybody gets on with the next case. We all go on down the river to the P. Diddy oil party.
So do they? Isn't it strange that Comey's daughter was the prosecutor in both those cases, and and then wound up getting fired, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is no in the American legal system and justice system, everybody's connected by like 1 degree of separation. And I think I showed that when I wrote the Pottinger articles about Pottinger. Stanley Pottinger, of course, was Epstein's victim's lawyer. But he also just happened to run guns with Jeffrey Epstein in Iran-Contra in the early 80s, shared an office with Jeffrey Epstein during that time, lived 500 meters away from Jeffrey Epstein, and shared a load of friends with Jeffrey Epstein. So, I mean, they don't mention that, but they mention the other thing.
They don't need on the ground spy operations anymore as they once did, honey traps, whatever you want to call it. Compromise. What is the new word that came out last couple of weeks? Compromat. They don't need to. And we know that the CIA did it with MK Ultra as well, right? Where they would set up double mirrors in hotel rooms and drug people up and have them compromise the prostitutes. Almost the same kind of operation right there. But they don't need to do that physically on the ground anymore now due to technology, you think?
I think that this is a really interesting thing to talk about very briefly. Is I started to realize that the old school honey trap operations I would now describe as funny trap operations. And what they use is they use comedians to bring people in, to groom people mentally, to psychologically manipulate and change the way they think. And I call it the funny trap. It's really, if you look at the Austin comedy scene, especially, and how linked that is with the fact that Thiel and Musk and people are basing themselves in the same city, there seems to be an operation with, again, a very small degree of separation. And I think it's like no longer can people be brought in by sex stuff. It's not so easy. It's time to use a different method, and they're using the funny trap. A lot of these comedians who suddenly go on things like Piers Morgan, like Dave Smith and stuff, and suddenly I'm the actual person who knows everything about it. You're a bloody comedian. You're not. You don't know anything about this. You just put up, and there's a lot of this. There's a history of this. I mean, a lot of people who are watching this will know people like Sam Tripoli and stuff. These people have been involved in the independent truth movement, have come in suddenly from the sideways angle, and I'm never really sure where they come from, or it just seems contrived. So I think the old-fashioned honey trap has turned into the funny trap now.
I never heard that, but makes sense because you let down your guard when, it's just a joke. They're just joking around, right?
They basically show you their boobies.
It is interesting what all is going on there in Austin, like you say, that Musk has moved there, and the funny trap. Yeah. Wow. What about Weinstein? It's not Harvey Weinstein you're talking about, who's in prison for rape and appeal and all this. The #Me Too movement got him somehow, some way. It's not that Weinstein. It's a different Weinstein, right? It's this character Eric Weinstein.
He's incredible. I started investigating. He was the first time. I did something in my life where I couldn't understand the other side, and the other side really was represented at the time by the intellectual dark web, as they call them.
I remember when they rolled that out. They rolled out the fake news narrative, and they rolled out the intellectual dark web, that somehow these people are enlightened and have a knowing, when they've literally never even hear them talk about the global conspiracy for one world government, or they don't put it in those terms at all. But they send you down all these rabbit holes that are very interesting. And so what are your thoughts on the quote intellectual dark web?
Yeah, set off loads of alarms. And I had to, when I was looking at it all and I was researching, I ended up watching Eric Weinstein very carefully and realizing, there's something there, doing a bit of investigating and discovering some stuff. And then I got wrapped up in the Schwab case. I got wrapped up in the World Economic Forum, the creation of it via CIA conduits. Then the Epstein case, of course, kept me distracted. And then the amazing Parley Online was having an argument about Brett and Eric Weinstein. And I just said, I remember something very interesting about Eric Weinstein you might be interested in. And I wrote a short article. But then I kind of went back through and looked at everything. And I can tell you, Eric Weinstein presented himself as this counterculture, intellectual character who really understands. He's a guy behind the theory of everything. He knows everything. That's how he kind of projects himself out. And when I went back in time, I discovered he actually got funding from the Office of Naval Research when he was doing his degrees. And very soon after leaving Harvard, which of course is a center of New World Order programs and projects. When he left there, he went and worked for the UN, and that was left out. It actually made his website under a different name, and it was from an old defunct website that you could find that he worked on a paper. He worked for a few people. He didn't only work for the United Nations. He worked for JP Morgan and a few other people writing papers. But this one was very interesting. Between 2000 and 2002, he wrote a landmark, and this is a landmark United Nations paper called Migration for the Benefit of All. And it maps out globalist migration policy that we see currently in Britain, in the Western world, in America, and is on the forefront. Eric Weinstein has positioned himself on the part of the debate who says this is the problem that has been created by all of these left-wing people and etc. They were created by people like Eric Weinstein, who literally said in the paper, it will lower the wages of the native population, and we won't know what the solution is until we do it, so we may as well just do it. It's a completely and utterly, it is an extraordinary thing for someone like Eric Weinstein to be involved in. So when I wrote that, he actually got back to me. We had a backwards and forwards. He tried to basically...
He's a good guy. He's a good guy, patriot, exposing the bad guys, right? He's part of the intellectual dark web. Johnny?
He said that he first accused me. He said, "Is this from the Whitney Webb world of the media?" Whitney Webb's, of course, my ex-girlfriend and mother of my child, and I would say pain in my ass out loud, but let's be careful. And he said, "Is this from the pro Hamas world?" He's trying to frame me as this thing, and it's like
it's from the interdimensional alien world.
Exactly. So we had the backwards and forwards. Recently he actually blocked me. I did write a little article, but I've actually expanded on that now.
But did he ever answer your questions about this paper? I just pulled it up. It's right there on the big conspiracy site, Wiley.com.
He's worried. I know. He's worried about facing that. He won't answer the questions directly, but I think he has fake accounts where he goes and he tries to say to me that it's not a globalist entity. It wasn't a paper that was used in all of this, but it was. It was very important. It's what we see unfolding today. You can't say that isn't very significant, but it's not all. Number one, funded by the Office of Naval Research when he was in university. That's interesting. Goes to work for the UN. That's very interesting. Then he goes into different hedge funds, and eventually, of course, he's working for Teal Capital. And that is very interesting. But in between 2010 and 2018-19, he's writing regularly for edge.org while it's completely funded by Epstein. So this is something that he doesn't mention when he's talking about, I met Epstein once and I felt that he was some part of the intelligence community. Well, Eric Weinstein should know what part of the area, the intelligence community looks like, because he is part of the intelligence community himself. He's the CEO of Teal Capital, and one of the contracts that Teal Capital have gained under Eric Weinstein's fine leadership is supplying drone technology and missile technology to the Ukrainian front and maybe the Palestinian. I haven't looked into it fully, but he's definitely heading up that. That's what he's doing. He's putting forward war. He's a globalist war against the old Russian enemy. He's mapping out migration policy that benefit the UN. He's working, he's writing for Epstein's Edge while it's funded by Epstein, and trying to propagate what is essentially transhumanism. And his brother, at the same time, he has one input. Brett Weinstein has one piece of input in Edge. It's a very interesting one because it's about Game B. And just before, in 2018, one of the last submissions he made was about Game B, which Brett Weinstein has gone on to look into in more detail, and people like Courtney Turner, Cover, and other people in great detail. And it's about like the destruction of our current society so they can rebuild it like a phoenix from the flames, etc. These people have designed our society, manipulated our society, are creating the arms to destroy our society, to flatten buildings, to murder people, and they're the people that get boosted up there, get put out as the philosophical alternative to the mainstream establishment narrative. And it's bull. They're just, I mean, Eric Weinstein is just a fat version of Kissinger.
A fat version of Kissinger. And they sold us that these are the smart guys, right? They're pushing back against institutional corruption in the media and the government. And it turns out they are the media and the government.
Yeah, Gunther Wilderman says, Johnny, have you addressed Teal when speaking to this guy? Yeah, I started to. Listen, he's blocked me now because he didn't like what I was saying about him. But like you have done there, Gunther Wilderman, he actually spelt Teal's name wrong. He works for Teal bloody Capital, and when he was arguing with me, he spelt Peter Thiel's name wrong. So I wonder how much people if you look at Teal Capital, I don't know if you've ever looked at Teal Capital's website. You go onto it and it's just the words Teal. That's it. There's nothing else. There's no special anything. You go into the archive, it's just same. It just says Teal on it. And it's very secretive. You don't really get anything other than that. There's no buttons to click. There's nothing to go into it. It's just, there it is, just says Teal. And that is really Eric Weinstein. You don't know. All you see is what he tries to present himself to be, but behind the scenes, everything is the opposite of what he's doing. And he's working for the globalists. He's working for Teal. He's working for the intelligence infrastructure. So, and I mean, that connection with Epstein, people should be shouting at him about it, but instead they have him on all their big podcasts and they lick him and they say, like Joe Rogan sitting there going, wow, you're so amazing. And honestly, Eric Weinstein is just spouting bullshit. When I watch these guys now, I've spent a lot of time researching them. I see them spouting logical fallacies all of the time. I'd love to debate Eric Weinstein because I would not let him get away with that. And that's why he would never talk to me. Never.
They won't have a real honest public debate with anybody that's not another intelligence agent or asset, whatever you want to call them, because they have to control the narrative because they know they'll be exposed.
Yeah, they know they'll be exposed, but they also know now they're building an infrastructure where you can have 1,000 narratives all being pumped out at the same time, and no one knows what's real or not anyway. And that is a much better system for them. The previous system of carefully controlling the debate and censoring people is a very high maintenance sort of system to use. It's much easier to let everybody say absolutely everything, and we all be shape-shifting aliens.
They are it's information overload, right? There's hit us with so much. And when Doge first came out, it was insane, the amount of stories, reports about government corruption, and yet here we are. No one got in trouble for all that, because I was covering it every day at the time, and I was like, man, they're hitting us with so much information right now about all this wrongdoings, but nothing sticks, and no one gets in trouble. And like you say, they had to wind down USAID Color Revolution on the ground program because now we have the higher technology to go ahead and do it through the interwebs, and we
Digital
don't need
neocons.
the NGO boots on the ground anymore like this when they can social engineer through the interwebs. Johnny, we're at the hour mark. I guess how much longer can you go, or do you feel?
I'm happy. I listen. I'm on tea. Still got tea left in my cup, so life's all right. You know, that's how British people judge their time.
All right, awesome. I got coffee over here. Okay, let's take our live commercial break at the hour. I'll plug first, and then we'll have you plug. Everybody go to Weaponized News, get some stickers over there, weaponizednews.com. We got the holograph sticker, the white background sticker, and the clear background sticker. Put it on your laptop, your bumper, your guitar, your Cybertruck, your work locker is where some listeners and patrons have told me they put the stickers, and so we do appreciate the support. And I did get a donation over the weekend, like $20. So we're bringing the big bucks over here. No, but honestly, every little dollar helps because we do have bills for the subscriptions and so on and so on. And a time that we put into this, it's a labor of love. As Johnny knows, we're not on the CIA payroll, so we don't make much money out of it. But we do appreciate the subscribers that pay, and I appreciate that donation I got over the weekend. They said thank you for giving us the news, the real news that we need to know about. And so thank you out there, listener. I do appreciate it. But help continue to support independent reporting and analysis. I brought you that press conference on Friday that you're not going to see on the mainstream media because they won't even cover it. They got the press release about this whistleblower nurse that's suing the hospital over here. Very important for fraud. A lot could, if her case makes it somewhere to discovery or something like this, a lot could come out exposing the medical intervention, so on and so on. Where you get that information, Weaponized News. You're not getting it anywhere else. Tell you that, because I went there and streamed it live, and there was no other reporting. A few other independents here and there, but so we need your support. Weaponizednews.com. Give us some support. We got some books over there, some stickers, and we take donations. And the description below, we got Cash App, we got Buy Me a Coffee, we got a Bitcoin wallet. Any kind of way you want to support it is support Weaponized News in our efforts here. Greatly appreciated. Go ahead, Johnny, and plug where people can support your work.
Oh, most definitely. Come to newspace.com. I'm on Substack as well. People seem to like going over to Substack. And what you're saying is right. Like any help. I mean, when you're not working for the man, you haven't got much in the way of support. So we need all the help we can over on the independent media. The site is looking flashy nowadays. Newspace, there's loads to be had over there, and of course you can even go and watch Sam Cheney on Truth Bomb as well if you want. And I advise you to Truth Bomb, the only quiz show on the independent media worth its weight in gold.
Awesome. Yeah, right there at the top, newspace.com. All your Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, Ko-Fi, and right there, all the links. Anyway, that you can support us independents out here trying to break through the propaganda and lies that are shoveled down our throat at an increasing rate here now. And we don't have the kabillion followers like these fake fluencers, clown fluencers out there. I don't know how these people do it, but how they have any followers. Maybe it's just all fake. Johnny, what do you think about that? Do these clown fluencers with 1 million followers, are they even real, or is this just all fake?
It is, but I just say literally, that I gave a lot of credit to different influencers to try and give them an opportunity to say, oh, they're human. But one person I'd note in particular was the rise of Ian Carroll.
That guy came out of nowhere, right? The first video I ever saw, he was like doing a TikTok exposing BlackRock, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good information. I think I heard it other places, but I was like, yeah, that's okay. And then it's just like this dude will jump on any bandwagon and blows up to 1 million whatever followers, and it's like, really? His information is nothing original. right?
He's using he's saying openly. I mean, it's not like he's hiding it. He's saying, you know, he's using he used Whitney Webb's research, he used my own research, he used research of different people, and he presented it out there, and that gained him reputation using other people's stuff. The moment I'm like, look, this connection between Epstein and Musk, he hid away. The moment I say, look at this connection between RFK and Epstein, he hides away. It was clearly
RFK admitted on video he flew on the plane 3 times. We played the clip here multiple times. You know what I mean? So it's like admitted.
The fact,
but he had to shill for Maha, right, when he was campaigning for RFK. And God forbid we look in the mirror at our own quote guy and be more critical of them than the damn Democrats running Epstein hoaxes.
Yeah. Afterwards, after the election, watching some of these people who had been kind of created as influencers. To be perfectly honest, if we want to see the creation of influencers, we should watch carefully in the next election cycle, because the same routine will be run again. When it was the year before, I was on TNT and I was watching some of these people rising up, making a name quickly for themselves over a year, until suddenly they got millions of supporters, completely uncensored, talking about the same subjects that have got people like myself completely and utterly shadow banned. They're talking about the same things, and they're open. They just get loads of traction, loads of traffic. You know what's going on there. You know what's going on. But the problem is as well, we're desperate for the next hero who's going to come and tell all of we need to stop putting our faith in heroes. We need to take it one step at a time, and we need to look at what people are saying as well, because a lot of these people are using the research of other people to make their name, and people should be going to the originals. People should be going to the sources. This is why Ian Carroll, for instance, is a gatekeeper. That's what the meaning of the gate is. For me, if you want to go and look at my work, if the only way you'll see it on the mainstream would be if Ian Carroll shows it to you. He's opening the gate. That's the gate. He says, look, Johnny Vedmore says that this woman over here went on Epstein's plane. Look, you can get to see my work for a little bit, and I'm behind that gate. So he shows it for a little bit. But when it comes down to Musk or RFK, of course, he's not opening the gate. So he has control over when the gate opens. That means he's a gatekeeper. It's a literal point of the gatekeeper.
And he's just one example of many, many out there on your interwebs. Look at all going back to the Epstein binder from the White House, right? All those people, they have giant accounts, right? But they're shilling, they'll shill the Trump party line to the death. And you're like, no, this guy's a naked tyrant right here. The emperor has no clothes, and they refuse to look in the mirror at their own guy and say, hey, yeah, but this is probably pretty bad what's going on here. And it's just ridiculous, embarrassing for me to look at them now at this point, but they continue on, obviously, because they're paid well.
They looked hungry. They looked satisfied. They're holding those binders. They got these looks on their face. The one woman was almost like she was out of control. It was so exciting. She was at the White House. She's in a dress, you know. She's already pumped out to loads of people because she agrees to do the things that people like us don't agree. I was asked by one account. There's a big account. I'll tell you a little bit. I'll tell the people a little bit how they do this. I was approached by one account. They said because I think it's much more of an entity. They said we'll pay you $250 or something, some mediocre or small sum, to retweet 7 anti-woke tweets a week. So every week I should repost 7 of their anti-woke tweets, and like I'll probably agree with everything they're getting me to retweet. If I said yes to that, I get 250 quid a month, and I'm retweeting these things. saturating my account with bollocks tweets that don't mean anything at all, losing myself over gaining supporters of people who want some sort of instant visceral hit of I understand who my enemy is, he looks like that, because that's what it's targeted. It's targeting the much more nasty side, you know. A lot of it is divisive, is the anti-woke stuff. Man, you know, a lot of woke people are just really complicated people I don't want to spend my time arguing with, because you'll never come to a conclusion.
They
I'll
they want
disagree
to
with
they
you.
want to fuel the flames of the culture war and
Yeah.
distract us. Obviously, it's a
So
distraction.
when I see people like all of these influencers, look at their accounts, you'll see the fuel of the culture war that they offer them, and these people just go, yes, okay, next one, yes, okay, next one, yes, okay, next one, and take on loads of money. For me, I was like, not very interested in doing that. That sounds like, number one, I saturate my account and I'd be saying things that aren't what I want to say. But this is what this is how it works. This is the world is. If you're looking at an account and it's constantly tweeting anti-woke stuff, someone is paying them, and you're watching an advert. You're watching an advert that you don't realize is an advert, the worst type of advert.
Another one. Well, let's just name the ones that went to the White House for phase one of the Epstein file releases. It was Jack Posobiec, DC Drano, Lives for TikTok, Mike Cernovich, Chad Prather, Liz Wheeler. If they were real people, they'd be screaming up and down, okay, you put us on Front Street with the binders, made a big deal about it, all over the media. What now? Where's the second phase? What is going on here? But mum's the word on to anti-woke, whatever, script they got today to parrot out there.
And I'll agree with most of it. I'll agree with most of it. I agree with I agree with opposing stupidity and stupid statements, you know. But eventually, what will happen is they'll come to me and they'll say, "We'll pay this amount if you say this thing that is against what you actually believe or benefits in some way." I mean, yeah, Ruckus mentions cat turd, of course. I mean, but these people are the sellouts.
They're government propagandists. They said, "Oh, look, the government's so corrupt. We're the patriot good guys." Well, your quote guy got in there allegedly, and now you're just a government propaganda shill. So, what kind of great patriot for this country are you? I mean, it's ridiculous. It is clown world here now.
Indeed. I can I just say to I'm looking in the chat. I love watching. I've been watching you guys chatting away. And Gun for Wilderman said he's mentioned a couple of times that I hate Bitcoin. That I don't like blockchain or etc.
Yeah, why are you being mean to Bitcoin? What's up with that?
Yeah, I mean to Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean to Bitcoin. So let me explain my point. My point is, you watching the birdie, and the birdie is, hey, you, we're going to give you CBDCs. We're going to give you all type of expiry dates on your money. We're going to give you the worst type of deal on your currency. You'll only be able to own 20,000. All of the most nightmare stories. People like Catherine Austin Fitz will, of course, be out there saying this, and she says what she says is right. A lot of what is being said is being planned, is being put forward. You know, this isn't conspiracy theory. This is happening. But you're watching the birdie, and what it does is you go, I don't want that, so I'll accept a blockchain, I'll accept Bitcoin, I'll accept all of this stuff, and that's the real chain. That's the way who owns the majority of it? The richest people on earth. What does that mean? What does that mean? If the majority of a currency is owned by the exact same people who owned the majority of the currency in the last system, the system is going to be no different.
I believe the original point of Bitcoin has been lost here now, like you say, with these rich people owning the lion's share. It was originally intended to be peer-to-peer transactions, right? And we've gone away from that, and now it's the most valuable digital asset, digital gold out there, and it's gone away from the original intent, which was
if someone comes to me,
Decentralized peer-to-peer transactions on the internet is how it was originally rolled out.
yeah, completely. But I mean, I've been flipping in the past year. I've been flipping backwards and forwards to wondering if it was if the original like creation of blockchain was actually an intelligence job and is like a
We still don't
technocratic.
know who Satoshi is, right? Just some mystery genius computer programmer that came up with this same.
Lots of rumors. Lots of rumors. The
Lots
rumors
of
that
rumors.
he worked with some that people know who he is. Like the people at the top know who he is. There's rumors of that, and that makes me think that the whole thing is a ruse in some way. And the problem is that that's you know it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. If someone comes to me and offers me 100 quid in Bitcoin, I'm going to accept it just as quickly as I would 100 quid in whatever, etc. Any like, if you're getting support and it's got monetary value, then it's fine. Everybody's in. Everybody's in. But I think that the whole we are being tricked into it. There is. I mean, cash is king for lots of people, but realistically, they're not going to allow it. And what they're doing is threatening the worst, and they're giving you the medium. And this is always what they do. They make you fear so much that you run into their arms. And I mean, that's our whole society's built on that.
What do they say? Somebody there, Burning Beard, says Bitcoin was an invention of the NSA.
Yeah, Burning Beard's good. A good account as well, is often right. This is the way it goes. I mean, I know. I have a friend. He's a lovely guy, Brad. Really beautiful human. He got really onto the crypto wagon, and he's made loads of money. Him and his kids have traded all over the place, and they've made so much money that they were like, "We're gonna go somewhere else. F this country. Let's get out of here." And I explained, this is going to be, this is a globalist thing. Once they enact rules and regulations, it will be enacted all over the world. And you won't be able to just like go and hide somewhere anymore. This is just a very small opportunity, a window you get to do that. And he was like, he did not want to hear anything bad said about crypto at all. Nothing at all was allowed to be. And I find that is a lot of the response of people who are on the crypto scene. They do not want to hear anything bad at all. But in the end, he had to come back and he said, they've put in the rules and regulations, and now you can't do anything about it. You can't hide your money offshore. You can't get away with it. So it's just currency.
Huffman said, the Huffman Aviation on YouTube says the blockchain is a trap, means downfall began with a ledger.
Yeah. The panopticon, everything's recorded. Okay, I have to admit, I have to admit openly, I want to go and take a £20 note and pay a man for weed in the alleyway and have the police not know about it, have my bank not know about it, and I don't want my work to know about it. I don't want anyone to know about it. I want to buy green drugs from a man in an alleyway, and I want the opportunity to do that without there being a recording of it on the ledger. Anybody who's telling me that everything should be recorded so everything's safe, that I think is we're entering into the technocratic world where everything's watched, and so that's the sanitized expression of we behave ourselves because we're being watched constantly.
Let me get your take on this today. Trump's rolling out the military. Trump announces he is invoking the DC, quote, Home Rule Act to place the DC Metropolitan Police Department under the direct federal control and deploy the National Guard. Let's watch this quick clip from Trump And my question is, okay, well, if crime's so bad there, you got to roll out the National Guard. Then why does no one in D.C. city government who's responsible for it and Congress, why does no one there get in trouble? Utter failure. They should be forced to resign, possibly face criminal charges as well. Because if we're at this point where we have to essentially roll out martial law, then why does no one in the government who's responsible ever face any consequences? And I think we know the answer, but let's hear from Trump today.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. I'm announcing a historic action.
Unbelievable.
What do you make of this, Johnny? And he put out a post about the homeless better leave Washington, D.C. Like, wow, dude, are you going to drone them with a Palantir? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, this is something else. This is something else. I think the reformation of society, the Great Reset, isn't something that is fun, enjoyable, that people will agree with, that will be something that will benefit the people who are living through the period. And I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the preparation for what comes next. Because I mean,
we're still in the Great Reset, right? Everybody forgets they announced, that is the King of England, their King Charles announced along with the World Economic Forum the Great Reset, and you think that a miracle, ended all that? No, we're living in the middle of it here now. The agenda carries on.
Yeah. I think, though, there's something much more esoteric going to happen. There's a lot of signaling, and we laugh about all of the shape-shifting alien stuff, but in the next 5 to 6 years, people like Eric Schmidt are predicting that AI will allow us to understand things that we knew to be true before, but could not put into words. That sort of change in understanding and in society and in human nature and psychology is likely going to shift us in ways we can't even imagine yet. And I think they've already realized this. They've already mapped a lot of this out, and they know what happens. For that, they really need to get more control. If you look at all of if you go to the Flickr account, I've done a series on this, but you go to the Flickr account of the World Economic Forum in like 2009, 10, 11, around then, they've got this selection of slides that they're training their young global leaders in, and it shows society, it shows everything about the future. They've already mapped out and planned out where we're going. They know, and it's very soon. Technology increases exponentially. We are so naive to think that the next 5 to 6 years is going to be like, our iPhones go up a level, or our computers get a tiny bit faster. Exponential growth in technology, when it becomes indistinguishable from magic, will be magic.
Quantum computing. But what do we do about? There's already, I see, people complaining about the resources used by these giant data centers to power the AI, because they're using an extraordinary amount of energy and water, amongst other, and putting out quite a bit of pollution as well. Do you think we'll see a big pushback from environmentalists and like that? Because I saw people there, I believe Musk has one of his data centers in Tennessee. I want to say outside Nashville, and a bunch of people there were saying that it's polluting them, polluting the air, causing all these public health issues, which we care so much about. It feels like maybe we're going to have a big public pushback about all of the resources being used, and then of course they put the cost off onto the general public as they do with everything.
There's a place up in North America called Cascade Locks. They have a hydroelectric dam that's owned by the community. The community itself reap the benefit from this hydroelectric dam. And a data center moved in and wanted to purchase better land, and they had to look into it. They said, well, the environmental concerns, one thing. Cascade Locks is a beautiful, pristine, wonderful place to live. Why would we want to pollute the water with the mass amount of coolant that we're going to be dumping in there if we've got a data center? And they said, well, we'll pay, we'll clean these things up. We'll try and be as clean as possible, but let us do this, and it'll help. It'll help. We'll give back some money into the back into the community by paying to use this power. But the problem is, what people don't realize is that data centers, as technology grows exponentially, they're planning data centers to grow in size exponentially. So a data center that uses only a certain amount of power now, in 5 to 10 years, will use 4 to 5 times the amount of power. So they can get in now with these deals with small communities like Cascade Locks, and they can say to them, hey, we'll put this small data center here. But technology, because it's increasing exponentially, that size will increase in power usage, and you'll see power being drained. You'll see people being rationed and power being rationed so that big data centers will be able to function. And you'll see more environmental stuff where they're saying, oh, we're really bad for the environment. We got to do all of this because we're so bad, because us normal people are doing so much damage to the environment. But what will be really happening is they'll be diverting powers to the major power hubs and the drain of the power, which are these data centers. And as they get more and more, and if we're saying in 5 years' time it goes up 50%, you'll probably get at least 50% increase in power at the same, or power need usage at the same time. In 10, 20 years' time, that'll continue to grow exponentially. And so that means more pollution. That means more of everything that's bad. That means small communities being taken over. That means hydroelectric dam projects that have funded the community, like in places like Cascade Locks, will instead become these brutal grounds where Israeli and US intelligence data centers hive all of our information and basically pick up everything it can possibly get with these massive military style data centers that are using the power off the grid and taking it away from the people.
Ruckus says no one seems to care about the NSA data centers. That's true.
Yeah, it's true.
They've been at it a long friggin' time, way before the tech bros got in the game, right? The NSA has been with that one that always comes to mind, that crazy one in Utah, right? That famous data center there. What do you think, Johnny, about AI? Is AI going to take everybody's job, like they say here now?
It's insane. We're so around the corner. When you see what the what their little robots are doing, they're trying to make sure that it takes over every single part of our job. I mean, none of this can stand the test of time. There's no way that human beings will accept this.
Well, allegedly, they're going to create this tech utopia. We're all going to be on universal basic income, and we're going to not have to worry about trying to earn a living, pay our bills anymore, and we're going to be able to become enlightened. Is what the story is. The story they say to try to sell us on this idea of basically getting rid of humans.
Yeah, we'll be huffing the Soma. We'll be. I don't. I think the same with like depopulation. The idea of that as well. I think it's all overrated. They've got this idea that they have that much control, but as soon as they put too much pressure on people, people fight back. The thing, and they know this. That's why they don't just all out take over society. They've got to constantly manipulate and lie in little bits so that they push. People won't take it. I'm really optimistic about it. I think the next few what happens is AI becomes so significantly advanced that it is a danger to the entirety of humanity. Something happens that allows everyday people to see that really clearly, and is a sudden lockdown at a global level on the advance of AI technology. I really do have a more positive. I don't think there's going to be one country develops the AI which takes over the world. I think it would need the entire world to get to be working together, and agreeing for them to make some form of super AI bot. I know AI narrow intelligence. We're there. They claim that AI general intelligence is on the way. I don't. I still. I think a lot of it is going to be trickery, and then AI super intelligence. I don't. Artificial super intelligence isn't something that I really believe in. They want to believe in it. Religious people want to believe it. Tech religious people want to believe it. Maybe it's true. Maybe it will happen. And if it does, well, what can we do about it? We'll be obliterated by the drones anyway. So we don't make no difference. I mean, there's no. It all comes back to the same thing. Don't worry. Eventually, people will have to fight back. I mean, it's extinction level event. People will fight back. I believe that.
I hope so, Johnny. We're at the hour and a half mark. Anything else you want to cover in regards to the title here? Epstein, Musk, Weinstein, Trump, social engineering, the CIA. Any other nuggets of knowledge you want to drop on our audience that we need to know about?
Well, I think there's more reckonings happening in the Epstein files to like round it off with each of these subjects. With Epstein, i- majority of people know the very base story, and I saw a guy today in I was in a coffee shop in town called Scaredy Cats, a beautiful little place where all the trendy people go, and
Is there
sometimes you
real? Did
go.
they have real cats there?
No, they no real
No.
cats. That's the disappointing thing about it. They have iced teas and lattes and stuff like that. But anyway, I was having this conversation with a guy who was sitting down, and we struck up conversation, and he was very interested in how the world works. And he said we were talking about Epstein, and he said, "Can I tell you what I think the Epstein case looks like?" And I said, "Okay." I know what it's gonna be already. And he said, but go for it, and then we'll have a conversation." And he said, "I believe that Epstein was blackmailing leaders, with sex compromise with children for the Mossad." And that when he told me that was the basics of it, that sounds really good on paper. That's something that has been keenly adopted and adapted by many different people, and is the most simplistic view of the Epstein case you can possibly get. And the reality is that the Epstein case is a multinational case. He did not work for just one thing. He was working towards globalism. When we look at someone like Musk, what is the similarities? Well, they're working towards globalism. They're working towards creating the infrastructure that will be the same all across the board. They're working towards globalism. What about Weinstein? What's he working towards? He's writing better migration for the benefit of all for the UN. I can tell you, when he's making drones for when he's supporting drone warfare with Teal Capital, that's going to be used in Ukraine. I tell you what he's doing. doing? He's heading towards globalism. He's pushing towards globalism. What's Trump doing? He'll take any power he's getting and he pushes towards globalism while pretending he's not. All of the parts that we're mentioning are all behind, all the tentacles behind, and they're globalist tentacles. If we want social engineering, we want to understand what's happening there, that is the social engineering has been designed in the academic institutes and given to governments, and it's globalist academic institutes. The academic institutes are already united across the board. They've got branches over in China, America, everywhere, have been for a long time. It's basically a globalist takeover. All of what we're talking about constantly is actually just the formation of modern globalist world order. And the quicker we realize that, and the quicker we see all of that, the quicker we realize that's why we're losing our culture. I know. I'm gonna have to, say I love people from India. I love Indian food, that's for sure. I like Pakistanis. Hey, I like Africans. I love them. I think they're great. I am a big fan of people from other countries. I like talking about other countries and I like interacting with people. But my entire community is Indian and African now. And that wasn't the way it was before. And, however much I love African and Indian people, they don't feel comfortable with me completely, and I don't feel comfortable with them completely because we come from different cultures. So they keep to themselves. The African people because have an African cafes, hang around with African people. The Indian people marry other Indian people and all live their happy lives. White people continue to do that, and we're not turning into this globalist world. The globalist world they're pretending they can create doesn't work. Eventually, people get peed off with each other. People get ousted from countries over long term. Sometimes, like it makes sense to come and emigrate to somewhere like Britain or America, and then when the political tide changes, they leave again. And I think what we're seeing is the attempt to install globalism. And I desperately hope that the people all around the world look around at their communities and say, we need to have some sort of stop. We need to retain something of what we are as a people. And that, it's not racist, it's not horrible, it's not nasty. We are being taken over by globalists. Globalism is being forced upon us. Epstein was an arm of globalism.
Indeed, Johnny. I don't know if you saw this story. This came out today, UK Telegraph. They say Britain's white working class should not indulge in racial victimhood. Labor Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson declaring that it is a national disgrace that white working class children in Britain are being written off by society. How do we get to the bottom of the underachievement which characterizes this cohort?
They're so nice. The kids around. I tell you, no, I'm not talking about those politicians. I live in. I don't live in a posh area. I live in a rough area with rough people around. Some of the kids around here are tough kids. They come from tough homes. They some of them are a little bit thievy. Some of them deal. They all go around in their little scooters, electric scooters now, and deal their weed around the place, and have all the star dogs under the sun, etc., etc. And they they're sweet kids. They're very accepting of what's happening to our society. And I'm talking about like the white kids or the British kids or the kids who we see as part of, like I said, they're definitely not just white. They've always been like, Britain's always been quite a diverse place. But they are very accepting. They're very kind kids as well. They're very nice. The next generation isn't actually a bunch of hoodlums. They're pretty good people. So again, I think that they will see the same thing. And if you talk to the kids, they hang around. The white kids hang around with white kids, and black kids hang around with black kids, and Indians hang around with. It's still the same. It's culture, and culture. There's a divide. There's always a divide, and Britain is full of it. It's always been full of it, but eventually there'll be pushback, and we're seeing it. We're seeing the struggles. We're seeing all of this. We're seeing it in America as well. But I don't want it to turn into something. And I know lots of people say, you can have your India, Johnny, etc. I'm open to people from all over the world. I am. I'm more open than most people. So
That's very liberal of you.
yeah, I got a lot more tolerance. I gotta be honest. I got a lot more tolerance. Way too much tolerance. But I know other people won't, and so that's what will change things.
Johnny, when's my next appearance on Truth Bomb? Didn't I win my episode?
Oh, no, I'm afraid you didn't win the season. The series is finished. The first series, what I've done is I've finished it at 13 episodes. The winner was Rotting Jules. She ended up top of the table. So the first 13 episodes have been played for season 1, and season 2 will start soon. And then I can now mix and match. I'm also reformatting it. They'll be brought down in size. A couple of the rounds are going. I'm going to make it about an hour to an hour and a half. Lots of fun, loads of truth bombs. So soon. Maybe if Ruckus is still in the ground, maybe he can come on with you. Maybe you can be the first episode of the reformed truth bomb.
All right, awesome. We look forward to that. Here, Johnny, thank you again for staying up late where you are to be on Weaponized News, talk about all this insanity, the Epstein hoax, declaring you're a Democrat now. We appreciate that. No, but seriously, everybody go check out Johnny Vedmore's work at newspaste.com. There, we appreciate his efforts out there trying to enlighten us about this whole one world government conspiracy. Thank you very much, Johnny. As always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out, take action. Have a great rest of your Monday evening.